I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing.
I like this video that Elon Musk has provided for us, talking about the first principle. You know, we get so caught up in how we reason and how we think things out, and we tend to do it, as Elon Musk says, through analogy. Well, it's like what so-and-so does. It's like what I experienced here. And so we make decisions based on that analogy. It's like what I saw my father do, my mother do, my father, my neighbor, business person across the street, right? We have the analogies. But he said a better way of looking at things is the first principle. So if you took a battery and said, it's expensive, too expensive to make, but instead of coming to that conclusion, you said, well, what is it made up of? What are the component parts? And then if you take each of those component parts, break them apart, you can take a look at what does each one of those cost. Now bring those together in a new way. It costs less, perhaps. That's the first principle approach. And as I thought about that, it reminded me of this book, Profit First. If you haven't read it and you're in business and an entrepreneur especially, it is something well worth reading. And in it, he talks about, we're brought up in business to think of the formula revenue minus expenses equals profit, right? So we focus on that revenue. We're growing it all the time. And we assume that the expenses we have are critical for generating the revenue that we need. And what the author of this book tells us in Profit First is think of that formula differently. If you think of it as revenue minus profit equals expenses, it shifts how you look. Now you're defining how much profit you need and you want for growth. And what's left over in that formula, expenses, that's what you have to spend, not more. When we do that, now we have a cash flow understanding, and that's what makes or breaks a business. So in a sense, I think of cash flow and that formula of revenue minus profit equals expenses as being just like Tesla's formula or his comment about first principles. Easy, but it requires that we shift how we think.